so I can measure it. It will be floating, it will be attached to this line right here. What's next?
Richard Garriott owns this property, and he is a sometime historical reenactor. He was involved with a group of people who would meet out here on a fairly regular basis. Some of them started doing some theater, and he decided to build this miraculous venue. I mean, I think there are only a handful of venues this good in North America for staging early modern theater, which is my principal interest. So there's not a better venue, I think, for this show within several hundred miles of here, at least.
Yeah, and the Bairnsmen principally have used this space in the past, and both of us have acted with them and loved working in this space. And so last year, was it a year ago, when we decided to do our first show through Poor Shadows of Elysium, we were going to do this show, Antony Cleopatra, and then found out that we were having a baby and thought an 8-month pregnant Cleopatra might not really work. So we decided to do Richard II, the coin toss production, in its place, and have been waiting to do this show.
There are some staging challenges with the show. Also, there are something like 38 scenes in this play. Many of them are very short. And I think a lot of people read this play and just think, I don't know how to make this work. But I think another problem with the play is, as Peter Brook said when he was directing it, many people come to this play with certain preconceptions that come from a Victorian take on the play. So people's view of how this play works is, I think, maybe different from how it actually functions.
I also think we've talked about this play is unlike other plays that involve, lover relationships, because this play is, you only see these two characters in this specific time period of the relationship. You don't see a development of their relationship. You sort of have to jump right into the play with this relationship being defined and these two people already very intimately knowing one another. So I think it's greatly to our benefit that we are already intimately involved, so we come to the play without having to force any of that. And I think that could be a real challenge if you didn't have a real life couple playing it on stage, because there's no room for developing chemistry at all. I mean, the play starts off and everything, especially Cleopatra, everything she does is focused around Antony. You don't see any sort of other facet of her in this play. Everything is about her relationship and her love for Antony and how that affects her. And really the same thing for Antony, although we maybe see him in a little bit more of a military form too. We have really phenomenal actors in the cast. Lots of names that I'm sure you've heard before in the Austin theater scene, especially in classical theater. We have Travis Bedard, who was in Richard II with us and has done several shows with Kevin and all across Austin, and has his own, popular theater blog and all of that. He's fantastic to work with, and he's playing several characters in the show. And then Charlie Stites is playing Octavius Caesar. Really, when we knew we wanted to do Antony Cleopatra, Charlie was immediately wanting to be involved, and we were ecstatic to have him on board, but we didn't have him in a certain role. And then our wonderful director, Joe Falaco, also agreed that he would like for him to be in the show, and after auditioning, put him in that role, which I think Charlie's really enjoying playing. He's great in the part.
We have Heath Thompson, who's also a regular on the Austin stage. There are a few people who are newcomers who I think are also doing fantastic work.
Yeah, the entire cast is really phenomenal. It's been a great group to work with. There's not there's not a weak link really. Everyone's so wonderful, and we have some sort of acrobatic staging, without giving anything away, that our director has put in some really cool physical stuff. So we have some actors that are really physically agile that do some really cool stuff in the show that I think audiences are really going to love.
Joe teaches Shakespeare and performance at Texas State University, where I am a graduate student. Joe has also acted with so many professional Shakespeare companies that I couldn't even begin to tell you all of them. But the Shenandoah Shakespeare Express, which has now become the American Shakespeare Center, is the one that immediately pops to mind.
Yes.
But he has a fantastic encyclopedic knowledge of the text, which has been really invaluable for all of us, but particularly some of us that have a little less experience with the classical text.
Yeah, we did extensive text work for this show, more so than I've ever done in a show before as a team. You know, I've done a lot of that work on my own, but with this, we did a lot of text work as a team, and it was really beneficial for everyone. I feel like everyone in this play thoroughly understands and feels very connected to what they're saying and how it relates to the rest of the text, and it's been really nice to have him on board with us. Well, we're getting married on May 17th, right before this production of Antony Cleopatra, actually. So we'll be on stage in our costumes, get married, and then an hour and a half later are putting on the play. So we're really excited about that, and my family's coming into town, and all of our friends and theater supporters and stuff, so that's going to be really fun. And we'll have our 1-year-old daughter, Rosalind, here too, so...
Poor Shadows of Elysium is the theater company that Bridget and I started at the end of 2012, I guess, with the idea of staging this play. But as Bridget said, things intervened. You know, we try to keep the focus on the text. But it's also important to both of us, because we both come from a theater background, that we try to achieve a balance of psychological realism in the acting. And when we're doing shows like this, particularly at this venue, early modern staging practices. So there's sort of there's a line there for every company, and I think ours is just maybe set at a different place, somewhere in between many of the other companies that are in town. Antony and Cleopatra runs May 2nd through May 18th. Friday and Saturday performances are at 8. Sunday performances are at 6 p.m. so that we can experiment with doing a play like this in a venue like this during the daylight, as it probably would have been staged in the original period.
You can get more information about tickets for the show at www.pourshadows.com.
There is a strange sequence in Cymbeline where Jupiter appears. It's sort of a mask-like event that bears little, I think, relation to anything else in the play. But there are a series of ghosts on stage, and Jupiter calls them poor shadows of Elysium. And there's something about that sort of ephemeral nature of these ghosts that I thought, bore a great relationship to what we do, because theater is such an ephemeral art. It happens and then it's gone.
Do you guys love the space, Yvette?
Yeah, it's very cool. Picking out our seating. I'm picking out my seating.
Michael, this is one of my students, Hallie, and she's actually in our production. She was in Kevin's production of Macbeth. She played the Macduff child at City Theater. She's a phenomenal little actress. She's the only young one in this show. We're excited to have her.